Consciousness, knowledge of one's own existence, the thoughts and feelings of an individual or of an aggregate of people. Man has always been interested in altering consciousness, his own or others. Historically, the task was left to alchemists, oracles, and medicine men. The intense use of drugs in this country has made us aware of the variety of mind-altering experiences available. Mind alteration and behavior modification, by other means, may soon be commonplace. This film introduces several methods for altering consciousness. The techniques are not related, but they are unified in that they all affect change. Each may be responsible for changing our minds in the future.
If the time is ripe for people to have their behavior modified, it will be modified whether scientists do it or not.
These men are scientists.
We have directly placed into our hands, all the tools, all the facilities that we need to make the manipulations, to test our hypothesis about how to bring about behavioral modification, behavioral change, behavioral control. I mean, it's not an accidental kind of thing. People in our field are deliberately trying to do it, ostensibly for altruistic kinds of purposes.
It isn't so much the altruism, although that may play some part, but I'm just curious. You know, I'm just damn curious about what's going on with drugs and in the brain and behavior, memory in general.
I was particularly interested in drug research, and for maybe kind of a strange sort of reason. I was interested in drug abuse because psychological dependence or physical dependence I see as being very demeaning.
The dope dealer supplies drugs for customers who experiment with mind and perception at their own risk.
The dealer is concerned with dealing to people that he knows, people that trust him and his judgment of what he's selling. And the pusher is the person that will just take anything that comes his way, you know, regardless of quality, and put it on the street. A dealer with a progressive consciousness, he's going to deal only drugs that won't affect the people, his friends, in adverse manners, which are the organic drugs. You know, you got a good lid to sell, and then you sit down and you try it out, and you get stoned together, and you laugh a lot, and drink a few beers, and have a nice evening along with, you know, the sale. It's not necessarily being there to sell or to buy dope. It's there to make a personal encounter. Like dope is illegal in society, but it's not even looked upon as being illegal within the culture. It's illegal in that you realize that, well, if you're caught with it, you're going to be busted. That's how illegal it is.
Art is one of the ways through which perception is changed. The artist reorders our senses so that our experience of the world is given new dimension. He forces us to experiment and question what we see, and if we see.
Basically, we assume we see, and what we actually see is exactly what we're oriented to see. We set up and developed a very elaborate abstract system of logic, which has worked, but at the same time, it has really isolated us away from any kind of really first-hand sensate involvement. We've really lost tremendous contact with that area of awareness, and in which the area of perception, or our consciousness of perception, exists. Actually, art is, in a sense, you know, basically not any different than any other discipline in that sense. It structures the way you see, the way you look, or the way, in a sense, what you let in and how do you define your idea of real. It has developed its own rationale for being. It has no other reason, no other function, no other purpose, no other being, in a way, except the questioning of just the idea of consciousness.
In Eastern cultures, meditation has long been a method to control and train the mind. Western technologists discovered that during meditation, the Zen master's brain produces a particularly strong alpha signal. Alpha feedback trains people to produce this signal in order to achieve the state of calm associated with meditation.
And, this is essentially what we're trying to do with people who don't have the opportunity to get away from their daily lives and retreat to the hills and meditate all the time. Perhaps with a little technology, we can help them at least simulate portions of that experience.
I think that in the West, people are technologically sophisticated, but as regards understanding mind control, they're very without experience.
Our mind, especially the mind of the people in the West, is always occupied. Worry, happiness, thinking alone. Like in Buddhism, we say that our mind like a monkey mind, because it is like a monkey. Therefore, it jumps up and down and always moving, occupied.
People think too often that meditation makes you dreamy-minded, but it makes you wake up, so that your mind is always awake. And the other way, people live like people in dreamland generally.
So you push on that and see what happens.
The middle one?
The one that makes you feel better.
Makes funny. It makes everything I see jump. Everything looks like it's moving around. That's a real good button.
In 1953, this series of therapeutic research experiments was conducted by Dr. Robert Heath of Tulane University. His subjects responded to electrical stimulation of isolated brain centers implanted with electrodes. We see here the possibility for direct physical manipulation of the mind and personality.
Feel good, do you think? Or if you do it too much, does it have any bad effects on you? Or?
No bad effects at all. If I can buy one, I'd take one home from you.
Yeah. I just feel like I don't have any thoughts like a human being. I'm just an animal walking around on the earth. Please don't do me like this. Please don't. I can't stand it. I don't like to feel like this.
That's right. Now look at that smile you got now.
Why does that make me do that? I don't like to do that.
You really told me off, remember? Hmm?
I know I did, but I couldn't help it.
There are patients that are in, say, intractable pain, patients that have brain lesions. And as part of the therapy for these patients, it's necessary to do some research-oriented kinds of things, to find out where you are in the brain, for example. And hopefully you get a lot of reports out of these patients. What does this kind of stimulation feel like, and so forth. Okay? But there's a limit to how much you can get. Maybe scientists that are really interested in that are going to have to put those electrodes in their own brains.
We've seen several methods for changing consciousness. Probably the most common and most accessible means for most people is through drugs. One scientist at UCLA is studying why people abuse them.
I had a lot of problems trying to understand why depressed kids could get strung out on downers or barbiturates. Just didn't seem to make sense, like if you're depressed you would want to take speed, amphetamine, something to kick you up. Why would you take something that would sort of knock you out? I couldn't understand it until I started doing some animal research and thinking about it. It became really clear to me, and that is that barbiturates are just like dying, okay? It's just like suicide. For example, when you take downers, they totally suppress REM sleep, which is one of the stages of sleep in which you do most of your dreaming. So when you take downers, you don't dream. You can just sort of look around, you say, the world eats it, I want to get out. We ask the question, could you get a rat to put itself to sleep, to escape an aversive situation. Okay? And we implanted the rats with cannula, tubes, okay, in the jugular vein that were chronically mounted to the skulls, okay, so that we could sort of hook them up to an automatic syringe which automatically injected drugs into them. We used barbiturates. Okay? And this was wired up to a lever, so the animal could press the lever and knock himself out. Okay? If the animal wanted to escape from the situation by going to sleep, all he had to do was press the lever, boom, out cold. Anyway, we found that both animals, under normal conditions, didn't press the lever very much. Okay? But when we delivered either mild electric shock, we used a peculiar kind of electric shock. It was very, very short duration, extremely short duration and high intensity. Not too high, just enough so that the animal would sort of jump. We found that when we shocked the animals in this way, they would go over, press the lever, knock themselves out. It was incredible. I'd never seen anything like it.
Beyond the laboratory, experiments with drugs continue. How do these people relate drug use to their own methods for manipulating consciousness?
It's been a tremendous help in that it's relaxed a lot of people that were born into a really uptight situation, you know, like we were all born to people that went through the Depression and have certain values about that and have certain uptightnesses about their environment.
People take drugs because in some way they're emotionally deprived, and the drugs are the only way they can get the emotion out. You can't plant an idea into somebody's head by stimulating a part of his brain. And you can't plant an idea by giving him the right drug.
Especially this type of drug, marijuana, hashish, organic drugs, they're to bring people closer together, closer to themselves, closer to God.
What happens to someone with a drug perception the same way someone maybe has what is like a spiritual experience? You get this terrific input of what has previously been censored information. It's tremendous. I mean, suddenly the world is twice as colorful and twice as full of activity and movement and so on and so forth as it was before.
Some students at UCLA also asked me how about to using drugs and to have some kind of experience they call that is enlightenment. But in Zen Buddhism, I explained to them that even after taking drugs, you have some kind of experience, and maybe you call that is enlightenment and what all. But that is artificial experience. It is not yourself. Therefore, I suggest them to meditation and to produce their own experience.
That extended states of consciousness on any level are in your grasp. In other words, it's up to you in a way. It's something that you have to play with and you have to extend.
Given the provisions for altering consciousness in the laboratory, through spiritual discipline, with the aid of technology, or by using drugs, where does responsibility lie?
People in the area that I'm in that do come up with research findings, okay, which would lead to a means to manipulate behavior, okay, always run the danger of having their findings abused.
You have no control over anything that you come up with. It's completely out of your hands.
But nothing you're saying is idiosyncratic to science. Everything you're saying is true of the newspaper man or of the media man in the widest extent. You're describing things that are true of a complex society.
A dealer has no need to really feel. His responsibility is involved with quality and not necessarily with the possible effect on people's consciousness, because the dealer knows that what he puts on the market is good for people. If it does strange things to a dealer's head, then he knows that he better not put it on the market, because it's going to do strange things to other people's heads, and they're going to come back and they're going to say, wow, I thought you were my friend.
And I feel as though I have a really major responsibility, not only for my own research in the area, but for the research that I know about. And when I know about research that I see as being dangerous, okay, then I feel as though I have a responsibility maybe to do something about it.
We don't know what the things we're doing are going to do, but we don't have power. And a lot of things of much wider circulation in the society have much wider power, and we don't know what they're going to do.
The one interesting thing about being an artist now is that everything is a possibility, which means you start out from a state of total chaos. And you have to assume the responsibility for every single thing you do or do not do.
There are a lot of ways to manipulate consciousness. There are innumerable ways. And I think there are a lot of healthy things, a lot of things important in the growth of the individual that result from these kind of manipulations. I think that people shouldn't simply be asking questions about whether people should take drugs or not, but they should put it into a much broader context as to what manipulating consciousness is all about.